This is One on One with Jasper Cole, Hollywood's bad guy, and so much more. Actor, talent manager, producer, and more. Now he's sitting down with today's top newsmakers from entertainment, politics, pop culture, and beyond. This is One on One with Jasper Cole.
All right. Howdy. And welcome to One on One with Jasper Cole. This is your host, Mr. Jasper Cole, and we are coming to you live from Sunset Gower Studios right here in Hollywood, California. Let me give a shout out to my producer, Mr. J.W. Williams.
Hey, Jasper.
How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good. Well, listen, it's a great day. This weather's amazing, right?
I just can't believe it. It's like we fast forwarded into summer.
I know. It's like a 30-degree jump, right?
It is crazy.
From a few days ago. But
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, everyone, we're glad to be back. Please follow us on Twitter at OneOnOneJCole, Facebook, One on One with Jasper Cole, and you can go to my website, jaspercole.com, and when you get there, go to the ubnradio.com page, click on our show, because we have 26 sponsors. Our newest one is Bentley Dog Products, but we have 25 other ones.
All of us here at One on One with Jasper Cole are proud to announce our 25 affiliate advertisers, and they are all .coms. eFile, Interserver, ZipRecruiter, Hilton Hotels, 3-Day Blinds, Adam and Eve Toys, Bullguard, Prime Slots, Russell Stover, Booking.com, Suzanne Summers Bath and Beauty, Quest Nutrition, Sur La Table, and Extended Stay America.
Additionally, we have EUK Host, Canvas World, Cheap Air, 21st Century, Liberty Mutual, Course Smart, Advanced Auto, Fandango, Meet Mindful, Flair Play, and Jewelry.com. Thanks again to all of our wonderful sponsors. All right.
Okay, great. Welcome back, everyone. Yeah, we're really thankful to have the sponsors. So everyone, please go there, click on something you like, purchase it, and we can make some money. So, JW, it's been a great, exciting week in politics. You know, we're so thrilled today because we have Jamal Simmons, who is a political analyst and a TV commentator for both CBS and CNN. You probably have seen him on MSNBC and pretty much all the networks. He's going to be joining us today to talk about the current presidential race. Since we were together, we've had the Iowa caucus, and also last night was the New Hampshire primary. So I can't wait to get into that with him and get his take on Trump and Bernie and Hillary and all that. So I'm excited about that. Did you follow any of this last night?
You know, I haven't really been following except just what I'm seeing as sound bites, on social media and just little recaps on the news. But I think we do have Jamal on the line. And Jamal, are you there?
Oh, we do.
I'm here.
Hi, buddy.
How you doing?
Hey, Jamal. This
Hey,
is
talk to
Jasper.
everybody.
Jasper and John. Thank you so much for joining us. I know this is probably one of your busiest times, so thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
I'm happy to do it. This is, not to be corny, but it is the future of America at stake.
Yes.
Yeah. There's just that one little issue there, right? The future of America. Well, listen. Before we get into today's politics, I really wanted to talk, if we could, a little bit about you and your journey. And you've had quite an amazing career, and you still do. But I see you went to Morehouse College, right?
I did.
Yeah, that's a great school. I'm actually from Georgia, from Athens. So,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I went to
yeah.
Morehouse, and I lived in Atlanta, after that for a little bit, and it's really one of my favorite places on the planet, I have to say. I really, it's where I grew up. I grew up in Detroit mostly, but I really became a man in Atlanta. It's like where I started my career, and I met people who I had really good interest in, and it just was a fun place to live. I loved it.
Yeah, it's a great city, and it's just completely taken off. I mean, it's been growing over the years, but I left in '87, and it's just not only like politics, but it's turned into Hollywood South, I guess, with all the TV and film production.
It is.
Right.
It is absolutely like Hollywood South. It's pretty funny, and you probably know this if you've been back and visited. you go to Lenox Mall and there'll be literally like a group of people, like guys walking through the like mall singing, like a singing group. It's like it is Hollywood. People are waiting to get discovered.
Absolutely. Well, so let me ask you. So after college, where did this journey begin for you in terms of your commentating and your political career? Before the commentating, I mean, how did you begin the journey?
Well, it was really great. I went off and I was at Morehouse, and one day I was walking across campus, and it was January, February of 1992, and somebody handed me a flyer and said this guy named Bill Clinton was going to be over in the chapel speaking. And so I kind of had an hour to kill before class started. So I decided to go over there and sit in the back and listen to him. And I kept thinking, wow, I kind of like this guy. Like, he's making sense. So this is pretty good. And so I became a little bit of a Bill Clinton fan. And then he won the nomination. He won the Georgia primary and won the nomination. And then I started volunteering on the campaign, and I got hired to work for the campaign. And then I got hired to travel with Bill Clinton. It all happened really fast. So, I was running around the country. It was like being on a rock tour. I mean, you guys are in show business, so you know what it's like when you're in a show.
Right.
You get all the people behind stage, and my job was managing the press and making sure the bags got what they were supposed to get and where they were supposed to be there. And, Andrea Mitchell left her camera on the plane. You got to go back and get it. That was sort of my job. But it was great because I got to see the country in a way I'd never seen it before. And I got to really see people. What's great about presidential campaigns is people are really putting their best foot forward when the candidate shows up. They want to show off whatever part of their lives that they think is the most special and kind of tell him or her what's happening. And so it's a really different look at the country. And so I left that and I went to Washington. I worked, in the Clinton administration for 4 years, and I went off to grad school and came back and worked on Capitol Hill, and then started working on presidential and other campaigns, Senate races. And then, what happened was they started, I think it was maybe around 2005, I just started doing TV here and there. People started asking me questions. I was a press secretary, so I had done TV working for candidates. And then cable news stations started calling. It's funny, I got my first cable station I was ever on was Fox News. Fox News used to have me on. So,
wow.
I can never hate Fox News too much because they gave me my start in TV.
Right.
And and then it was great. Then in 2007, 2008, Barack Obama was running for president, Hillary Clinton. I didn't choose a candidate for a long time. So I worked for the Clintons, but I really liked Barack. I knew him from when he was first running nationally for the U.S. Senate. And so I really wanted to stay out of it for a bunch. And then at one point, finally, I decided to get in it, and I endorsed him. I came out for him, and I spent all that year on CNN talking about Barack Obama every day. And, the rest is sort of history. It's been great.
It's been great. And now, going back to the beginning, were you there with George Stephanopoulos and Dee Dee Myers and some of the original people that were with
I
Clinton?
was, and one of the biggest lessons that I had about life came from George and Dee Dee. I was like 21 years old, right, when I'm traveling around with these guys. And one day we get some hotel late at night, and I'm coming in the hotel, and everybody's kind of putting their bags away, and I'm making sure everybody's settled. And I go to the staff office, and every day, people used to you make schedules. This is before the internet was big, right? So people would make schedules. Right. And you had to pass the schedules out. You would put them underneath everyone's door at night so they would know what they had to do in the morning. And something happened. People screwed the schedule thing up. It didn't really work. So I walked into the staff office, and I'm standing there, and on the floor, Dee Dee Myers, George Stephanopoulos, and Paul Begala are running an assembly line, stapling copied pieces of paper of schedules to go out to give to me to take out. And I learned an important lesson that day, which is it doesn't matter how big you are. The work still has to get done. You need to be one of the people that does it.
Right.
It was a good lesson.
Well, it's fascinating because all three of them, Paul, Dee Dee. Although I don't see Dee Dee as much anymore, but certainly George.
Well, she's out there now in LA.
Took off.
Dee Dee's now out there in LA working for some movie studio. She's in the show business behind the scenes world these days. Yeah.
Okay, well, good for her. I just remember it was fascinating because all of you guys were so young, and that was what was so invigorating about that initial campaign is how much, young energy he had around him.
Yeah, and what's funny is, I've got a lot of young people that work with me now, and they were big Obama fans, and a lot of them are big Bernie Sanders fans right now. And I try to tell them, back in the early '90s, Bill Clinton was the Barack Obama of his day. He had all the rock stars and Rock the Vote and MTV and the electricity. I saw a woman one time. He came walking out from behind stage, and I saw a woman burst into tears and start jumping up and down like he was John Lennon. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen.
Well, he was like our first black president before we had Obama, in some ways, because he had he was a rock star, and he had the African American community behind him. So, well, listen, that's a great segue up to what's happening today with the Democrats, and we talk about how Bernie seems to have this millennials. He seems to have the young generation, which is fascinating in many ways. I was curious what your take on that is, and why do you think Bernie is resonating so much with the younger generation, and perhaps Hillary is not?
I think it's from a lot of that history. Frankly, the Clintons have just been around for a long time. So if you're a 22-year-old, Bill Clinton got elected president before you were born. So the whole idea of your whole life has been spent around these people, and here comes Bernie Sanders. He's got the same message he's been saying. You never really heard of him before, but the more you learn about him, the more you learn. He's got this sort of really consistent message. He's a little quirky. I think about Bernie Sanders a little bit like a hipster wearing a Mork and Mindy T-shirt, right? It's like it's just a little bit odd, a little bit off. Everybody thinks it's kind of quirky, but it's fun and people like it. And I think that was the initial charm of him. But I think there are a lot of people who also like his politics, and they really spend a lot of time delving into that. And Hillary Clinton, they think she's sort of establishment because she has been around for so long. Her husband was president. She was Secretary of State and United States Senator. If anybody's in the political establishment, you'd have to say Hillary Clinton is. And, what's sexy about that? Right? Like, what's fun? And, there's nothing rebellious about being with Hillary Clinton.
Well, there is this theory out there too, and this is not a judgment from my point of view, but there is a theory that the millennials tend to have this reputation for being sort of the entitled generation, and there are people who believe a lot of what Bernie is promising are entitlements that a lot of people feel he's not going to be able to, one, pay for, or two, get Congress or the Senate to ever pass. But it's interesting how, if it's the entitled generation, they would be attracted to a lot of the stuff that Bernie is promising that's going to be taken care of for them, or that the government's going to provide,
Yeah, I think that's probably, more simplistic than I would think for the people who say that. I think I would argue that people want to even the score a little bit. I mean, here's the thing about where we are as a country. There's so much uncertainty out there. You don't get to get a job and keep it for 30 or 40 years anymore. Most people who go away to school don't stay in the same town that they grew up in. People are moving all over the country, going off somewhere else. So you don't have your family around, so that's kind of uncertain. And now let's say you go to school and you graduate and you've got $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 or $100,000 worth of debt, and then you can't get a job that makes enough money for you to pay those student loans back. And so you're looking for a way to figure out how to fix that. And so I think that people are legit. And at the same time, you're looking at TV and you got Kardashians running around in Malibu and rich housewives of Orange County and all these people who look like they're doing just fine while you're kind of catching hell. So I think people are looking for a way to try to even that up. The tough part about Bernie Sanders is that this is a capitalist country. I mean, if you think back to our history, we fought a war in the 1700s so that people could make more money. Right. That was kind of the point of the American Revolution, was people were tired of paying all their money to the king and not being able to get anything for it.
Right.
So the country was sort of started, so that people could make more money. So it seems like, to me, it's going to be tough to get a president who calls himself a socialist, just because that's just not really who we are as a country. But, I've been surprised a lot the last few years. Who knows? I didn't even think Donald Trump would make it to the starting line, and he's
That was yeah.
he's
Let's talk about Mr. Trump. It's fascinating because I've had this theory myself that I kind of felt like Donald never really had any clue he was going to take off like he did. I had this theory that I think he sort of was doing one of his traditional publicity things. He thought he'd get in and get out, and I think he's been shocked like a lot of us, and he's been trying to play catch up the whole time because I could just imagine he's like, oh shit, what am I going to do now? I'm actually winning. I've got to actually do something here.
Absolutely. I think he is probably a little shocked by it. I mean, everybody else is. But he also is tapping into a chord. And I think this is part of that same angry and angst. He's pointing the finger, though, at an ethnic group. There's a thing about Donald Trump that's kind of fun and interesting to watch. And there's another part of Donald Trump that's pretty freaking scary when you think about it.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who's running for president, and he's attacking ethnic minorities, blaming them for the country's problems. He's ridiculing the media. He's got a kind of an army of, henchmen, like these sort of security guards that throw protesters out every time he gets upset. He's got $1 billion. He's kind of like this mix between Silvio Berlusconi, who was the prime minister in Italy, and like Vladimir Putin in Russia, and like the guy from France, Le Pen, who was the anti-immigrant guy. So it's kind of like he's this mix of weird strongmen, European strongmen, who's trying to tell us that he'll make everything okay as long as we can, kick these people out and, do whatever, just let him kind of do whatever he wants to do. That's a little scary.
Well, it's scary. And let me ask you, Jamal, do you believe, and this is the question I have, if the Republicans, if it goes all the way to the convention before they have their nominee, is there a way that the Republican Party can actually not nominate him, even if he has all the, if he has the delegates, if he's won enough primaries? Is there a way that they can supersede that or get around that?
Absolutely. I mean, so if he hasn't won a majority of the delegates, then when it goes to the convention, I think everybody has to vote for the person they said they were going to vote for on the first ballot. And then you get to have 2 or 3 more ballots after that. So if that happens, then they can pick anybody they want. And that would be I don't think we haven't seen anything like that in the United States since like the beginning of the television era, like since the early 1960s. So people will be riveted to this. You think reality TV is a big deal? Wait till people watch that on TV.
I was going to say, but then again, we haven't seen anything like Donald Trump in politics either. So it's all kind of fitting. It's perfect timing for that.
Exactly.
Well, because I had been confused about that as well. And I think a lot of Americans, a lot of voters, I don't think they really get that. I think a lot of us have felt like, oh, no. If you get enough people voting for you in the primaries, then you're in. And I always felt like there was a way that they could get around that if they really wanted to. But then he may at some point go off and I think it'd be too late for him to run as a third party, I guess. I don't know. But he's all over the place with that.
He might be able to pull it off. It's a hard thing to do, to run as a third party candidate. But, you could see if anybody could do it, Donald Trump could do it because he could pay for the best lawyers and buy the best, contracts to him to make it all work.
And, so it brings me to the whole topic of the Iowa caucus and then last night's New Hampshire primary. I guess for myself, I'm always like, why those 2 states? And you know what I mean? Like, why is it so important? In some ways, it seems like they're not important and they're not a great gauge for the eventual winner. But it seems like every year we just keep going back there. Is that something that could be changed?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's just habit. You say you're not going to have a cup of coffee, but you get up in the morning, you go buy the Starbucks or whatever, and you get it anyway. Every 4 years, we all, troop out to Iowa in the snow, and we wait to see what's going to happen in the caucuses. And then again in New Hampshire, the one thing that's happened, Iowa became famous when Jimmy Carter won it, I think in 1976. And so nobody thought Jimmy Carter had a chance to win, and he kind of surprised people in this Iowa caucus. So then everybody kept going back after that, and it became an institution. So it's not really been that long if you think about it. But New Hampshire has been for a long time. And the one thing now happens is people there are so into it. They take it so seriously. One time I was working for this United States senator who was running for president, and we get to New Hampshire and we're walking across the parking lot, just, headed from one meeting to another, just having a conversation, like 4 or 5 of us. And this guy is parking his car, and he turns around and he goes, "Hey, Senator, you're running for president, right?" And he goes, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about this Medicare policy. When are they going to reimburse us for prescription drugs?" And started having like this whole conversation with him about this policy question in a parking lot. Like, that never happens. I've been in politics my whole adult life. I've never really seen that before.
And he didn't run away. He actually had a conversation with him. That's good.
Yeah, you kind of have to, because in New Hampshire, it's such a small state. If you get a bad reputation for not talking to people, like, their friends won't talk to you either, then you lose.
Oh my God. Well, it was nice. It was kind of exciting last night to see Kasich come up. I've always, on the Republican side, I've always been watching these clown car debates, as I call them.
Yeah.
He seemed to be the one that was the least crazy. He actually seemed to be the one that kind of was not embarrassing, and it was interesting to see him come in second in New Hampshire. That's given him a big boost. Do you think that he has the ability to carry that into South Carolina and Nevada and onward?
He might. Nevada might be an easier place for him than South Carolina. South Carolina gets pretty rough. People fight each other. They bang each other up. That's where George W. Bush, when he ran, went after John McCain and said that, John McCain and his wife had adopted a young girl from Bangladesh who has dark skin. And they spread this rumor in South Carolina that he had a black baby.
Wow.
All the sort of racists in South Carolina thought John McCain had his black baby. And it became this negative thing on him in South Carolina. Like, it gets pretty rough in the back of a limousine. Yeah.
That's the reality. That's the reality show we really want to see, is behind the scenes, right?
Right. Exactly. And people do things. It's very old school. It's like high school elections, high school student body elections or something. People make flyers, and they will, wait till they'll go to like a conservative evangelical church. And while everybody's in church and service, like praising God, people will go around with flyers and stick them in the windows with these really nasty rumors. And they won't say like paid for by anybody or from this campaign. It's just literally like somebody went to Kinko's and ran off a whole bunch of blue pieces of paper and put them in your window.
Wow.
It gets pretty, it's like high school. So I don't know if Kasich is really ready for that. I mean, he ran a pretty positive campaign. He's, kind of he's a conservative guy, but he's kind of moderate attitude, pretty even-keeled attitude, not really angry. And, the Republican, if you look at what's happening with Cruz and Trump, the Republicans are pretty angry. So I'm not sure somebody who's not angry is going to make it.
Well, it's interesting because you're right. It's kind of happening on both sides. You've got the Bernie and you've got Trump, and even though Trump is what he is, you're right. It is showing that both sides are tired of the establishment, and they want to change. My concern is, as a Democrat, I'm actually happy with either Hillary or Bernie, but my concern is that Bernie cannot win the general election, and he would get beat by the Republicans. But I'm open. I mean, he certainly so far has. I think even the pundits have been surprised at Bernie's success so far.
Yeah, that's the tough part about Bernie. Like I was saying, the socialism thing, the kind of the professor from Back to the Future look about him.
Larry David. Yeah.
Yeah, the Larry David. Like the people are just, he doesn't kind of look and sound and feel like what you might think the president ought to. So that'll be tough. But, the other part of it is, I think that, this is what Hillary Clinton is clearly the most qualified person on the stage on either one of the stages, right?
Yes,
she's been through it. She's clearly, she's got the whole thing handled. But she has yet to offer this compelling message or idea or vision about what what the whole thing is for. Like, what are we doing? Like, why should we elect you? I mean, it's like writing an essay without a thesis statement. Like, you kind of have to tell people what this is all about. And she's got a million policies. I agree with most of them. She wants to make college more affordable and more health care and better, education for schools for people, and, all that stuff, which is great. But it's hard to know how all that stuff fits together. And unless you're going to spend all your time going through campaign position papers, you probably get lost in it. And I think that's part of her problem is she just hasn't been a good storyteller. And as much as,
Right.
Anybody who's in the media business understands, like, you got to be able to tell a story.
And that's been her, that was her problem eight years ago as well. She kind of had the same problem when Obama came on the scene.
Yeah, sometimes you can be too smart for your own good.
Right.
And it's one of the advantages. George W. Bush had this great advantage of always being on message, always being really clear. He talks really simply. And part of that was probably because he didn't read a lot,
Right. He was very simple.
He didn't really have a lot of facts at his disposal. And so he just kind of kept saying the same thing over and over again. And everybody was like, yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Well, on that note, have you been surprised at Jeb's lack of success? Although last night was a victory for him to do as well as he did, but I think a lot of people felt he was the sort of the shoe-in going into this. And as much as I really was not a George W. fan, I never really thought anyone could have, Jeb just has no personality at all. He just has no charisma. That nothing comes across the screen.
Yeah, it turns out, isn't it shocking that it turns out that we actually already had the talented Bush brother?
But I get it. I mean, as much as I wasn't a Bush fan, I always said, but he's the guy you wouldn't mind having a beer with, or sit down and talk.
Yeah, look, if it wasn't for the Iraq War and the deficit being run up through the roof in Katrina, he would have been a great president. He's he's funny. He's interesting. Still, you listen to some of the great, montages of all his statements and read some of the, things that were put online. It's pretty fun to listen to him and watch him. With Jeb, you just don't get that level of personality. And I always thought the reason why W was such a good communicator, and you just kind of liked to listen to him and probably want to be around him, is he spent so much of his life sitting on a bar stool. And look, if you were hanging out in bars and drinking and working in oil wells, you get to know a lot of different kinds of people. You get to figure out what really motivates people. How many bar fights and pickup lines have you heard or given in your life? And so by the time you get to run for president, even when you've straightened out and sobered up, you still know a lot about how real people interact, what they want, what they care about, how they're thinking, in a way that if you're Jeb and you're the good son and you went to the right schools and you studied hard and you got the best grades and you got the right jobs and you moved up the ladder the right way, who really likes that guy at the end of the day?
Right.
You want somebody who's lived a little.
Well, yeah, because even though George comes from this privileged background, you just never really got that. He came off as sort of the average guy. I used to say if he weren't from that family, he would be that guy that sort of peaked in high school and would maybe be running the local car dealership, and he would sit around and talk about high school days and how he was the quarterback and that sort of thing. He just happened to be, instead of sitting at the dealership, the family business happened to be politics, right? And he was sitting in the White House,
Right.
which is scary that we survived.
It was a little scary.
Yeah.
Well, and I got to say, there's something about, I never did think that we would end up at a time where people were really hungering for something new, hungering for the future, that we would end up with a Clinton and a Bush on the ticket,
Right.
at the end of the day. Because that's just really crazy, right? I think Hillary Clinton probably makes it just because the system is kind of built for her to win.
Mm-hmm.
And Bernie doesn't have all the gifts that Barack Obama had. Barack Obama was so electric and so compelling.
Right.
And he was able to get both the really activist new voters and some of the old establishment voters in the way that Bernie hasn't been able to do. But
Right.
Jeb, I just don't see how he fights his way through this crowd. But you know what? This year, I'm done making predictions. Who knows? Who knows what really happens?
Well, I know I watch Donna Brazile and all the great pundits on all the shows, and I love the fact that now they're at the point where they're just saying, no, 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 don't try to pin me down on this because it's changing daily. You know, they can't really. No one has a crystal ball now to predict.
I mean, it used to be that you knew, if you knew how much money somebody had, you'd seen them in person and saw their kind of, you saw their show, basically, because
Right.
a political campaign event is a show. You produce it, you light it, you get, the right cast there. So you see all that. And then, you kind of figure out, like, you talk to some real people and see what they're looking for. And there are ways for you to kind of judge it. And then you say, okay, among these 3 or 4 or 5 people, these are the couple of people who seem like they might be able to do it, right? And so it's not,
Right.
it's like watching baseball or something. Like, okay, they got a good arm, they can swing a bat. It seems like it might work. This year, all those rules are pretty kind of shot to hell.
Right. If everyone's joining us right now, just tuning in, we're joined by political analyst Mr. Jamal Simmons and TV commentator, talking all things politics here on 101 with Jasper Cole. So listen, what's happening for you right now during this season? Where can are you doing television appearances, or are you, what are you up to? Yeah.
So I'm freelancing, so I'm kind of on. I was on MSNBC today. I'll be on CNN on Monday on Jake Tapper show. And then, doing a bunch of media stuff. And then, we're also doing another cool project, which you guys can learn about some more. It's called Crate.com. And we spell it kind of a funny way. It's spelled CR Roman numeral 8, CRVIII. And Crate is a new app that we're putting out. It's going to be able to let people, show what you create, what you make, and then share it with other people and learn about what other people are making and creating. So it's a place for creators to show off what they do.
Oh wow, I love that.
So we're building that up, and it's going to be a really fun thing. We're putting shipping containers in cities, and we're going to have events in these cities inside these shipping containers, turning them into showcases. So it's pretty fun. I got a great team of people, who are working on it that I'm helping out. So I want people to keep their eye out for that. And this year in politics, I'll be on the TV, whether it's CNN or MS or on the radio. So keep your ears open.
And then you have your website, right? JamalSimmons.com that people can go to.
Yep, you can go to the website, JamalSimmons.com. And I'm on Twitter, which I'm probably spending more time on Twitter now than I am on the website. But it's just at Jamal Simmons. And especially on big debate nights and some of those nights, it's fun to watch everybody kind of go back and forth about what they're seeing and hearing. You're doing it in real time. So I hope people follow and check it out.
Well, listen, buddy, thank you so much for joining us today. And we will be following you throughout the campaign. And it's been great to pick your brain a little bit here and get your expertise. And my last question is, do you see yourself ever jumping back in terms of working for a campaign again, or are you happy just critiquing it from the other side?
You never say never, but I like being able to sleep in my own bed and enjoy my life a little bit.
Right.
I still get to play in it, so I love it. I'm having a good time right now. We'll see what happens.
Well, listen. Congrats again on everything. Thanks for tuning in and joining us today, and we'll be following you on TV throughout this campaign. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Jasper. Take care.
Take care. That was fantastic, right, John?
Sure was. Yeah, no.
Yeah, so much. He's had such a great career. I love the fact that he started out with George and Dee Dee Myers, and he's right. I've actually seen Dee Dee in the Larchmont area here in LA. I had forgotten that she's out here. So so everyone go to JamalSimmons.com and check out all the stuff that he has going on. And JW, let's take our break, and when we come back, we'll do some more hot topics and catch up and do all that good stuff. You were listening to One on One with Jasper Cole. We'll be right back.
You're back. One-on-one with Jasper Cole.
All right. Well, welcome back to today's show. We were joined by political analyst, Mr. Jamal Simmons. It's been a great show, right, John?
It sure has, and you sound way better now.
Well, should I go ahead and tell people what I did? Yeah. Can we use this on the real? I just want everyone to know that I had my headphones on backwards.
Oh, my Lord.
And that the microphone was on the back of my head. So...
Oh, wow. I was like
I
was like, what can I do to fix him with all the interview?
I just want people to know that is how we run it right here at One on One with Jasper Cole. And it's all my fault because I was just talking away. And then I realized when we went to the break, I thought, well, where's the microphone?
Oh,
and
my God. It's 100% better. Oh,
it was up next to my ear. The microphone was literally on my headphone. So I must have sounded like I was in someone's cave or something. Could you even hear me? Can we start over? Oh, my God.
Oh, people. Oh, well, we have to bring some levity to this whole political situation because,
Well, no wonder. Could Jamal hear me? That's so embarrassing.
I'm sure he can hear you, but we're still on the air here with everybody, so...
Well, this is what our listeners know that we keep it real
I
here
know.
at One on One with Jasper Cole.
Exactly.
But I really should have taken a picture.
I was sitting here tweaking every button I could think of, like, why is this?
Yeah, because I have a mirror right here in front of me, and I just happened to look up, and I thought, well, what's that thing sticking up in the air on the side there? And then I realized, oh shit, that's the microphone. No wonder no one can hear me.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Well, you got it working now. So hey, it's not how you begin, it's how you finish, right? So,
yeah, I'm glad.
Dara's losing it in
for
the chat
5
room.
years.
Dara went through this before, so she knows. She's laughing her ass off in the chat room too.
She realized, but I bet she knew where to put the microphone. I've only been doing this for 5 years.
I love it.
But everyone has to understand, these are new headphones.
Yes, they are. And it sounds
we
great, actually, now. Really good.
Now.
Yeah.
Well, good. Now that
Perfect.
the show's over,
Yeah.
it's perfect.
I know.
Well, Jamal.
Thank you, Jamal,
Thanks
bearing
so much
with us.
for hanging in there and putting up with me.
I was like, he sounds better, and he's calling from the phone.
Wow.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, once again, go to our UBN radio page and look up our sponsors and if we still have them.
Yeah.
And you guys be sure and we'll be back here next week. I'll have a microphone. I promise you it'll be a much clearer
It'll sound
show.
just like this, just nice and clear.
But in all honesty, guys,
Yes,
thanks for
thank you.
being here today. And thanks to Jamal Simmons. Everyone follow us on Twitter, One-on-One with J. Cole, Jasper Cole, J. Cole. And JW, thank you so much for putting up with me.
Oh, no. Always my pleasure, Jasper. Thank you. Just think it's so fun.
This is going to definitely be on our promo reel, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, good. Everyone, we will see you back here next week, same time, with a microphone, same place, at One-on-One with Jasper Cole. Peace out.
Take care.
Thanks for checking out One-on-One with Jasper Cole. Check out past episodes and get the latest as they're released. Subscribe today on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube.